here back from Sessions Motorsports. This time we're going to do a walk around video on our good old pal Winston. Winston is a 1992 body, but a full tube chassis, one-off built YJ. That's kind of the ultimate YJ. We're talking 650 horsepower, tons of suspension travel, the heart of an Ultra 4 car, the body of a Jeep, and let's go through this thing and we'll talk about it. Okay guys, so on the Winston, what we'll do is we'll just start at the front, work our way through the back like we normally do, talk about the motor, all the good stuff. So the front axle on this thing is awesome. It's a hybrid. We worked with Brian up at Diamond Axle, and he built some one-off 4-inch tube chromoly 14-bolt fabricated housings. We have the Spider-Trax Pro Series knuckle assemblies and Spider-Trax 300M 40 spline shafts in this thing. So she's built for some abuse. It's got 6-piston Willwood calipers and Spider-Trax brakes. It's got full hydraulic steering, obviously, with some custom Sessions Motorsports machined clevis built-in tie rods. Has an old school worn 9,000 winch. I don't remember exactly what this is, a TI, I think. Obviously painted to match in our awesome style that we always do. So as one thing about this rig is this rig's got a lot of details. So a lot of hot rod stuff, a lot of machine parts. I love detail. It's one of my favorite things, and these cars are expensive. They're a lot of work, and my theory is you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, so you might as well make it nice while you're doing all the work and building it up. So of course we have the classic square headlight YJ grille. I absolutely love YJs. They're just such a cool Jeep. So these are just an LED DOT headlight that we have in this thing. So let's go over here. It is running a sway-away air bypass front shock. What's cool about this shock is a really good compromise for weight, rocks, and go fast. It's not as good as a coilover and bypass for like true go fast stuff, but it is an awesome middle ground compromise. We got a sway away bump stop in here, and again, as we're looking at stuff, just notice the detail on everything. Notice all the billet clamps, notice the Kevlar DOT brake lines, notice the double fabricated high steer setup. There's just detail everywhere in this car. So let's go over here on the other side and get a look at the front suspension on this thing. So this has a Sessions Motorsports dual triangulated 4-link setup, but it's set up just like our Outlaw race chassis. So a lot of engineering time has went into the suspension geometry on this. It does have the aluminum dropout 14-bolt third members with cryoed gears. Okay guys, so the tire and wheel package, it's designed around a 39-inch BFG red label with room to run a 40, but this car's all about using every inch of the travel that it has available. And when you do a rig like this, like the whole point of this Jeep is, I've had like a single seat competition rock crawler. I've had one of our Wrath chassis with 4-wheel steer, and I've had some nice Jeeps over the years, and I've built them, sold them, done all these different things, and you learn a lot from every different car. I learn a lot from our customers' cars, and I love Jeeps. And so this is kind of my way of building a Jeep that's not compromised. So when you take a Jeep and you go all out with it, in some ways you're compromising because you're kind of dealing with where Jeep put their firewall and where their floorboards are, and they kind of limit your design on like how far back you can set an engine and how low you can get the center of gravity and how much suspension travel you can package. And so this is literally the shell of a Jeep stuck over our Outlaw race chassis. So we'll get to the inside of this thing here in just a minute and show you some of those details. But again, 39-inch red label stickies. It's got Dirty Life bead locks, again with the Spider-Trax Pro Series unit bearings and the 74 weld snouts on it. So it's got the classic half doors, but if you notice on this thing, there's no door handle on this bad boy. So it's shaved off. The paint on this is really cool. It's just a candy, House of Colors candy green with obviously flames over the black and then hand striped yellow pinstriping. So on the back suspension is pretty sweet on this. Again, notice the amount of travel. If we back up and kind of look at how the fender's cut on this thing uses every bit of this wheel travel all the way to right here, again designed around these tires. So it pulls 22 inches of travel in the back and 17 in the front. And so it runs a sway-away triple bypass shock. It's a 2.0 with a sway-away coil carrier. It's got chromoly, all TIG welded billet trailing arms on it. And then the back axle on this thing is very much like the front. So this is a custom housing built by Diamond Axle. It's a 4-inch tube, all chromoly, 14 bolt with a dropout third member, again with cryo gears. We run a spool in the front and we run an ARB in the back with turning brakes. All 40 spline Spider Tracks 300M shafts, Spider Tracks brakes, and again Willwood 6-piston calipers. All right, guys, so the motor in this thing is it's the Jewel, right? So this is a old school 355 small block Chevy base motor. It's got a lot of tricks on the inside with a Vortec centrifugal supercharger. The motor is, it's a beast. It's awesome. It's crazy torquey. It's got a lot of top end. It revs to almost 7,000 RPM, and it makes just north of 650 horsepower. So there's a lot of detail in here. And again, if you really look at the thing, you can start to see how the tube chassis with the body over top of it is all working out and making sense. So the motor set, excuse me, very far back and very low in the chassis. On the motor, it has a, for an example, it's got a Ron Davis radiator in it, like we always use, with a Bosch fan setup on it. The intercooler for the supercharger right here. All custom PWR silicon radiator hoses. That thing with the filter right there, that is an evac canister from a company called Mighty Mouse. It's made for boost, and it helps pull a vacuum on the motor to relieve excess pressure from the supercharger on it. This here is a Howe steering cooler on it. It has a full PSC. The rest of the steering system is all PSC. The headers are 1 7/8" primaries into a 3.5-inch collector, all TIG welded, all ceramic coated, all custom built. Header assembly on it. It has an Excel DFI fuel injection setup in it. And again, just kind of take in some of the detail. Even got a custom hood prop on this thing. So we don't just have the classic Buggy 4-pin on the hood and pull the hood off. But kind of take a look in here and you can kind of see everything that we've got going on this thing. And again, just pay attention to the detail. And then from the side over here, you can kind of see just how far back this motor is really set in. If you look here at the center line of the front axle, and then look at the front of the cylinder head, you can really see how far back that motor is. This, we use a Ron Davis heat exchanger in conjunction with a big PWR trophy truck tranny cooler to cool the transmission of this thing, because it has a 3000 stall converter with the horsepower, and so managing the heat is a very large priority in this car. With power comes a lot of heat, so those are all things that has to be considered when you're building a car to factor in and keep the reliability hot. So it's got a Canton trap door with 5 doors and 5 baffles oil pan on it. So it's got a really special oil panel on it that is specific for like the kind of use we're using, just to keep oil pressure at all angles. So aggressive driving and rock crawling, like inclines, all the off-camber stuff, just to keep that oil at the pickup right where it's supposed to be. So for a transmission on this thing's using a fully built 300M input, 300M output, fully built turbo 350 transmission, and it's using a race case Atlas with a 2-to-1 ratio. So that ratio is actually pretty tall for like a full competition rock crawler, but again, for what this car is used for and how the power it has, the 2-to-1 is just, it's perfect for this thing. With so much fun. So it's got 538 gears in the diffs to go along with that gearing. So let's take a look underneath and you can kind of see that drivetrain we're talking about. So from this view, you can see the belly of the beast, right? You can see the subframe in this thing. You can see the AR 400 skid plates. You can see the UHMW skid plate liners. And you can also see the race case Atlas in this thing. You can see that big PWR trophy truck transcooler that we have packaged underneath that works alongside that heat exchanger to keep that trans temps in check. And then again, just look at the detail of how everything, look at all the braided stainless lines, the billet clamps, look at all the detail of how everything's laid together. Okay, so for the interior on this thing, we tried to do a lot of things different, and at the same point, just try to make it what it deserves and finish it out right, make it nice. This is a nice rig. It's got a lot of detail. It's got a lot of hot rod stuff. It's something you can take to a car show, and it's something you can take out and just rip anywhere you want to go. So it's got a hand fabricated aluminum dash that kind of resembles the factory YJ shape that we wrapped in the ostrich here. The gauges in it, these are custom gauges that we had built that are from Speed Hut. It's all GPS speedometer. There's stepper motor gauges with dual stage warning lights on everything. So it's got that set up on it. It has just a classic rocker switch design. And then it has all the seats in it have seat heaters. So it has PRP seats in it. The fronts are the Comp Elites, and the back is a custom bench that they built specifically for this to fit in between the shock assemblies in the back. So the seats are wrapped in an ostrich and a suede with a yellow stitching. The center console in here is, again, part of the chassis. And so these are the cutting brakes. So this is the left rear turning brake and the right rear turning brake. This here, we run the CO2 for the air locker. So this is the air locker on-off switch for the back. This is the transmission shifter. This is a TCI Outlaw shifter that's custom machined the gate. So we do our own gate design so we can get to reverse quick and just tailor it the way each customer likes it. And obviously look at the custom machined Atlas shifters that we do. And again, same with the gas pedal, brake pedal. If you take a look down in there, you'll see all the machine work everywhere. It uses an OMP steering wheel that's wrapped in suede. And even the door cards on this thing, we redid the door panels. We shaved all the top. Again, there's no door handle on the outside, so you just lean in to pop the door. And it has the ostrich lined door panels as well. For the back seat, again, we had PRP make us a custom little bench that's perfect for 2 small kids. This thing is, I've got a family of 5. I got 3 boys, and my 2 small sons ride in the back of this thing all the time. So this seat has heat on both sides, and they get to ride back here and fit it out. So it's got quite a bit of room. The fuel cell in this is a custom aluminum 25-gallon fuel tank, all TIG welded, baffled inside with a Holley EFI in-tank fuel pump. The rack on the back is something that we take on and off depending on how we're using it. That just gives us that extra storage, right, for coolers and tool bags and whatever we need. It's up high out of the way. It's built tough to take a hit if it needs to, but at the same point, if we want to get real serious, we can just pull this rack off and go have some fun. The back of this, if you look at the departure angle of the Jeep, so the wheelbase on this is 109 inches. We didn't stretch the body, but it's based, again, like off of our Outlaw chassis. And so that chassis has a wheelbase range from like 106 to like 118. And so this is 109 based off that. And so it's got a really good departure and approach angle, especially something that's been bodied like a Jeep. So again, this is just the shell. You can look kind of up here and see how the body's fastened in lots of different places to the actual chassis itself. The chassis is finished in Steelit, so the color is the Steelit gray. We got a receiver hitch on the back of this thing because we actually have a dirt bike rack that we've designed to put on the back, so we can haul a dirt bike on the back, so we can go wheel a trail with the dirt bike and then unload the dirt bike, rip around, and then put the dirt bike back on the rack and head back to the trailer. So it makes it kind of fun. All right, guys, so that's kind of a short, quick walk around on Winston. We're going to show a ton of wheeling footage of this rig in this video. We specialize in building one-off off-road hot rod vehicles. So one thing that makes us different from a lot of other shops is we don't do cookie cutter builds. We don't do the same thing twice. We have packages. We've spent a lot of time engineering parts and systems and things that work together that we know that work. But we understand and respect the amount of time and the amount of money these cars cost, and we know how valuable they are to the owners that own them. And so it doesn't make sense to not kind of go above and beyond and show off what we're capable of doing. And not only that, but putting the detail, not just in simple places where most cars do, but in everywhere. Putting the detail in all of it, because these cars they're a large investment, they're expensive, they're a ton of work. And like I said before, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. And if the car's planned out accordingly, you can build a car that literally can excel at everything. So is this a competition rock crawler that's going to take the hardest lines with rear steer and portal axles? No. Is it a full-on Ultra 4-car trophy truck? No. But is it really good at both? Absolutely. Is it something you can rock in the sand? Is it something you can do some of the hardest trails in the country on? Absolutely. And it's something that can be street legal and driven on the road if it needs to be. And it still has the heart and the heritage of a brand. It's still a Jeep at heart. So the Jeep's name is Winston, and it's named after Winston Wolfe. Some of you will know that's Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction. If you know Mr. Wolfe solves problems. And this Jeep solves problems. That's what it does. It gets the job done. So it's just a showing case of, again, like, I love Jeeps and I love buggies and I love the capabilities of buggies. And I also love everything about a Jeep. And so this is the two of those really blended together to not lose the capability that the Jeep has against a buggy, but also give the comforts, things like doors and like a heater. You can put a windshield on it. There's a lot of little things, something that I can actually drive around if I want to drive around and actually use it. This does run on 110 race gas, so it doesn't get driven on the road, to be honest with you, a lot with the sticky tires and the race gas. But the option of having it there, if I take a long family vacation to Moab and want to drive into town and have dinner, I can do it in this rig. So it's an awesome do-it-all machine, again, with detail that's tailor built to the needs of how it's going to be used, which is our specialty, is tailor building the rig the way you're going to use it. Hope you like this video, guys. We got more coming, and just if you like it, subscribe, like the footage, and we'll keep putting it out.